First slide, we're going to go over receipts and payments. Just gonna skip this. These are the modules we have today: receiving, voucher processes and approval, and searching. And this is the training structure. It just gives you a little bit of visual of the flow, what we're going to be doing. And here's module 1. Welcome to module 1, receiving. Receiving goods and services. This is just our objectives. I'm going to try and get right through the slides that are apply. So receiving, desktop versus central receiving. In CSUF, we have the centralized location, which is our facilities. It's basically goods that you receive, material that goes straight to facilities and then gets distributed among the campus or to the campus. And desktop receiving is direct to the user. So if you order something and you get it delivered straight to you, that's basically what the direct to user is, desktop receiving. And the hybrid is a little bit of both. We're going to go over two-way matches versus three-way match. Two-way match and three-way match, this hasn't changed. We do two-way match and three-way match here in CFS. A two-way match is basically a match between the purchase order and the invoice. So before something gets paid, we have to have the purchase order in place and also the invoice. And then there's the three-way match, which is the purchase order and the invoice and a receipt from facilities. Two-way match, a receipt is not required, so a receipt from receiving or a receipt in the system's not really required. And the PO owner will verify the goods are received. So if you look at the legacy system in CFS, a two-way match is similar to you receiving the invoice and you're approving it and you're sending it to accounts payable. You're sending it by in our office or email or something like that. But in P2P, you're receiving it in P2P. So you're just approving it, saying you received it, and it goes on. Two-way match. There's certain items that cannot be a two-way match, and it's listed here on the slide. Asset items, high-risk commodities, things that are identified as receiving required. Those cannot be under two-way match. And what are high-risk commodities? This is also listed here down below for you. Equipment, IT, hardware, vehicles, farm equipment, weapons. Those cannot be two-way match. They have to be received by facilities. Also here, three-way match, receipt required, which we talked about. Anything that's two-way and has to go to three-way match, which is facilities required receipt. Okay, cost, quantity, receipts. Okay, this is something that really applies to receiving facilities, how they receive the items in their system. Doesn't really apply to voucher or purchase order owners. Steps for receiving. This also applies to the facilities department. This is how they receive the goods. They're going to locate the PO. They're going to create a receipt in P2P, and they're going to complete it and submit the receipt. But again, this doesn't really apply to purchase owners or voucher owners. It's really for receiving. Okay. Create a receipt. Okay, now we're back to two-way matches and verifying receiving. So when we have a two-way match, like I said, you guys used to receive the invoices by email, or you get it by US mail, and then you'll send it off to accounts payable. Um, Now it's in P2P. You'll know you go straight to the voucher. It's a two-way match here, which is located in the matching tab. And you'll get a notification if any of you have attended any of the other classes. You'll know that this right here is an indicator that you have some action items. The flag is an action item. You have to go in there and do something in P2P, and this is just a notification, the bell. So when you receive a action item, this one is an action item to verify that something is received. Same thing as if we sent you an invoice and we need your approval on it back in the old system. This is what you would do. You'd go in, you'd assign it to yourself, and you can verify that, yes, I received the goods, or yes, we received the services. Voucher lesson, module 2. So we're going to go over voucher process, voucher approvals, and voucher payment information. We're going to identify the types of vouchers, and look at the voucher process. So there's two types of vouchers that we receive. There's the purchase order voucher and the credit memos, which we don't really get too many of. So we're going to focus on purchase order vouchers. Now, methods for invoice submission. There's three types of ways that we can receive an invoice in accounts payable. There's the CXML method, and it's an electronic method. It's submitted by the supplier. And the description here is an electronic version of an invoice from their e-commerce system to CSUBUY. And think of it as one system talking to another system. That's the CXML method. So the next one is supplier portal. So this is when a supplier submits their invoices directly into P2P. It's an electronic method. It's created by the supplier. Sorry. And the description here, supplier creates invoice using the PO flip process through CSUBUY, supplier portal into CSUBUY. The last one, PO flip, it's a manual process. The creator of this invoice is accounts payable or submitter. And accounts payable searches for the PO, manually flips, and creates a voucher from the PO. So PO flip, you could think of this as the old method. We'll receive an invoice by US mail or receive it by email, and then we'll grab that invoice and enter it into P2P. Accounts payable flyout. If you've attended any other of the other classes, you know the flyouts are pretty much all the same. The menu's here in black to the left. The little building here, that's the accounts payable home. So if you click on that, flyout menu will fly out and into your screen, and you can click on search for vouchers, and it'll take you to the voucher screen or the voucher search. Which is right here. So if you're searching for a voucher, there's so many ways you could do it now in P2P. Right here in this first section, we have preset filters. So if you're searching for a voucher and you want to look for all the vouchers under Cintas, for instance, or Bradford Technologies, all you have to do is just click on this right here, and all of the Bradford vouchers will populate here. Or if you're looking for all of the completed vouchers, you can click on here and then all of them will populate. And then so on and so on. There's so many preset filters. Another way to filter is by date range, which is right here on the number 2. If you click on that drop down, you can search for a voucher within the last 30 days, or you can search for a voucher, all of the vouchers. You can select all and it'll give you all of the vouchers. You could also put a date range there. Say you only want to see vouchers from January 1st to January 5th. You could put in that date range and it'll provide you with a list of all those vouchers within that time period only. There's also the quick search. If you don't have time, you just want something, give me my information quick, and you're searching for Bradford vouchers, you could just type in Bradford right here, and it'll provide you with a listing of all of those vouchers. Add filters. Right here on this drop down right here, number 4. P2P has selected some preset things you can filter through. And if you click on that, you can just create your own filter. Say you want completed vouchers and you want a certain vendor for that. You can create your own filter for that. And if you want to use that filter all the time, say you use that filter all the time, you can pin that filter so that every time you go to your search, you have that filter available. Number 6, save searches. You can also save your search for future use. And change view configured column display. This column, I have the voucher status here and you have the date range here. Say you want the voucher type over here closer to the left. You can arrange that. All you have to do is just drag this over here and you can arrange your columns to how you want to see it, what you prefer. Pay status. Pay status is here. We'll talk about the different pay statuses a little bit later on the slide, but right here you have the where the voucher is in the process, if it's payable, if it's in process, if it's paid. This is all listed here in the voucher search. View match status. If there's a matching issue, this can also be located on the voucher in this tab here, matching. If it's highlighted in yellow, you know there's an issue with matching. And on this slide right here, we can see that 2 was ordered. We haven't received anything, but the vendor's already invoiced us for 4. So that is a match exception right there. And this is visible in the voucher under matching. Voucher search. So this gives us a little bit of a description on the voucher search. Match status, do not match, fully matched, everything's good. You ordered 2, they invoiced for 2, it's matched, it's gonna go. This gives you like a description of everything. And here's the pay status descriptions that we talked about earlier in the filters. Canceled, similar to if a check was voided. Dispute, we don't really get very much of those, but it's there as an option. In process, an in process voucher is something that it's already started. The voucher process has started. It's there. We have it. It's going through the workflow. Paid, a paid voucher went through the process already. Check has been issued. It's paid. Payable. Now, this is a good one to know. It's ready. It went through the voucher process. It went through the workflow. It's ready to go, and it's likely to pay right on our very next check cycle.
Kathleen, do you want me to jump in from here?
Yes, please. Roberto's gonna jump in. Do you
Yes,
want to share your slide or?
yes, I'm going to put that up right now. Okay. All right. So anyway, sorry for the mix up here, but I just was running a little bit late. Thanks, Kathleen. So going forward, for comments on CSUBUY transactions, it's very similar to everything we've talked about with the like the requisition screens, the purchase order screens, and so there's not a whole lot of change here. But I do want to reiterate, we are requesting to keep any communications regarding your purchases in the comment section of P2P. There's a couple of ways to do that. If you're in this case, a voucher, you're able to go to a comments tab, kind of like you were with the requisitions, or you can hit the drop down at the top and then hit add a comment. It looks a little bit like this, similar to the other screens. So the comment box here, you're able to go in there and just type your message, whatever that may be. And then the more important part is who do you want to be notified? So here on the screen, you see that the only option currently is Terry. That's because Terry is associated with this voucher as she's the prepared for and prepared by. But maybe you don't want to communicate to Terry. Maybe you want to communicate to somebody in AP or procurement, or even an approver, a DOA approver from your department, or anybody that's in CC by P2P. Then you can hit add recipient and search for the individual. From there, you're also able to not only send them the notification, and I do want to add, just because you check this box doesn't mean that everybody else won't be able to see it. It just means that that's the person that's going to get an email communication about the comment. Um, the recipient will receive an email that will link them straight to P2P to this comment so that they can reply, or if they needed to take an action, they're able to do so. But to finish off with the comment posting, you're able to attach a comment, a file, or link a URL. And then lastly, and this is probably the most important, I know for me, sometimes this feels weird because I feel like there should be a post button here on the bottom somewhere, but you just have to hit the check mark in order to post this comment. If you're about to leave a comment and you're like, it's already taken care of, or whatever the case is, you can hit the X and then it'll cancel out. Of note, I want to show up here, even though you started to create this comment from the voucher screen, it says here requisition. That's just because it's showing you comments that are tied to a requisition. If you hit that drop down, you're able to see comments for everything, or you can filter it by comments that were initiated from a voucher or from receiving or whatever the case is. But this doesn't necessarily mean it's posting to the requisition, just that it's showing you the comments for requisitions. For the exercise, I'm gonna save that a little bit for the end. But comments for the takeaways, like I mentioned, please keep any communications regarding your purchases on P2P using the comment functionality. So if you want to even ping somebody to say, hey, I'm waiting for receiving on this, or can you approve? please do so on using the comment features. One kind of weird thing that's probably still happening since we haven't heard otherwise is that there are different ways to do comments. What we showed you is internal, but there is the capability for you to kind of comment or message a supplier. The weird thing about it is the supplier can respond or can comment back to a voucher, but when they do so, it goes to anybody that has that supplier available for use. So everybody gets it. So if one day you're poking around your emails and you see an email from a supplier you work with and you can't make heads or tails of the comment that you're seeing, just know that it may not be for you. It might be for a different campus. So it's going to take a little bit of investigation to see what's going on. And hopefully they'll resolve that bug soon. We'll do the demo in a bit. So voucher approvals. This is more related to two-way vouchers, so for your services. And so I'll show you the process and how what are the different options and what they mean. Um, and then, and then I'll show you how to apply necessary changes to a process. But these are the various actions you have available to you from the voucher screen. You're able to approve, return to a shared folder, place a voucher on hold, forward it, reject it, or add a substitute approver. Um, to start, approve a voucher. So essentially, on the top, it'll already be in red, approve slash complete and show next. And then approve is also there if you hit the drop down. Um, Either one of those will accomplish the same thing. It'll grant your blessing to pay this and then move it forward to the next step, whatever that may be, whether it's AP or if it's going straight to payment. Um, the approve and next, I think that takes you back to a different screen where you can do some additional actions, but nothing that you have to do, just kind of a different view. Return to a shared folder. This one is important. In a lot of places in P2P, things, requisitions, or even vouchers, they'll get placed into like a folder because sometimes you have more than one approver or more than one processor, whatever the case is. And when you click into something like a voucher, a lot of the times it'll auto assign you for just for going into it. If you do that and something gets assigned to you, it'll show up on the right-hand side at the bottom. It'll, whatever step you're in, it'll show that you have basically assigned it to yourself. And then uh, if you were to back out without doing anything, nobody else can touch it. So it's always important to return it to a shared folder if that option's available, because then if you're out or whatever the case is, somebody else can go in there and grab it. Otherwise, somebody else can see it, but then they can't do anything because you've assigned it to yourself. Returning a voucher. This is a kind of important, and I'll show you once we get into the demo. Sometimes um, when something is returned by an individual, we'll use the comment feature, so you'll be able to go into the comments and see what we're asking for, what the issue might be. Sometimes because of automated steps, something will get returned to you and it won't be in the comment section. And you might be thinking, well, what happened? In that particular scenario, I do want to encourage clicking on the history tab because it will tell you there why something bounced back. Typically, it's a system issue where, for example, there's a combo edit, so like a fund and an account that you can't mix. But it could be any number of things. But the history, it may not be super clear what it is, but it'll give you some inkling and you can reach out to us and we can further assist. Um, but you should manage any of your return vouchers or requisitions. So on the right-hand side of the picture that you're seeing there, the little flag is your action items. Right next to that, there's a little bell that has alerts. That's just kind of alerting you to something going on, but those alerts may not have an action tied to them. The flag is always going to show you things that have an action that's required. So you're able to click that. I personally like that it kind of breaks it out this way, whether you're looking at vouchers and then explains to you whether they're returned or not, so that you don't have to sit there and guess which one it might be. But yeah, you should click in there. See in the bottom, once you click this button, My Return Vouchers, you'll have a listing of all your return vouchers, and it'll show you the status there in the middle. You can click into it, check the comments, check the history, to see if there's some other action that might be needed, or if you need some assistance to help correct whatever the error might be. You could place vouchers on hold. Placing it on hold is just kind of a way to say, I haven't approved this, but I probably have a reason for that. I just need to hold it. Maybe you need to call the vendor and work something out, something that didn't quite get delivered or whatever the case is. You can place it on hold. Um, this way, somebody doesn't pick it up accidentally and pay for it or approve it for payment. Forwarding a voucher, so you can forward a voucher much like you can a requisition. The thing of note here to remember is that when you forward something, you're forwarding it, you're not just forwarding it for them to view, you're forwarding it for approval. So you're giving up your right to approve it to this other individual. So if you want somebody to see it, you don't need to forward. You're able to just give them like the voucher number, for example. They can search for it, open it, and they can see whatever it is that you need them to see. But if you want to retain the right to approve, don't forward. And that's on any screen. Reject the voucher. You're able to reject the voucher. Maybe it contains an error, or maybe they're billing you for items, and after you receive them, you notice they're broken or something like that. I mean, in that particular scenario, I wouldn't automatically reject it because maybe you want to call the supplier, let them know, and see what they want to work out. But you are able to reject the voucher. This is very important, and you should utilize this if you have an instance for it, because vouchers have invoice numbers attached to them. And so, say for example, you're getting an invoice and have a legitimate reason not to pay it. Maybe they're invoicing you for services that they didn't render, and you're rejecting it. You don't want to use this vendor anymore. So they never did anything, but they're still trying to submit an invoice. If you reject it, the system will hold on to it and have those details. It won't be moved forward any longer. But if they were to submit the invoice and send it to somebody else to try to get an approval and payment, the system would recognize the invoice number and stop it from going forward in the second attempt. So that's why if you have a legitimate reason to reject something, go ahead and reject it and leave a comment. This next one here, substitute approver, this is super important. I think a lot of people are really gonna want to leverage this. But the way it currently works without a substitute approver and P2P is a voucher gets submitted for approval. If you're out of the office, if you're at the beach, if you're having a good time, and you don't want to have to think about something that's probably stuck in the workflow waiting for your approval, then you're going to want to leverage the substitute approver, because in that situation, um, it's, it's potentially possible that nobody is able to approve except for you. But when you assign a substitute approver, you're able to assign an individual and start and end dates so that you can enjoy your vacation and not have to worry about coming back to a long list of action items in P2P. So that other person can go through and approve. So to do that, on the flyout, the little bank building, the AP flyout, you navigate down to the approvals, and then you'll select assign substitute approvers for vouchers. You get a little pop-up like this, with the exception that the name and the start and end dates aren't automatically there. You have to check a box, and then those boxes pop up. So you're able to select the person, and then the start and end dates. Um, okay, so we talked about what approvers can do for the vouchers, which is approve, forward, reject, and put on hold. Um, Often you have to assign the voucher to yourself to see all the approver options. So that's what I was saying is if something doesn't automatically assign, you have to go through and then it'll say assign and next, I think. And then you're able to see those options. And we talked about substitute approvers, which I'm gonna show you in a couple of minutes here. And yeah, so for the demo, we'll wait for the end. voucher payment information. This is really important probably to everybody because sometimes we get calls and the supplier wants to know where the payment is and maybe it's already been mailed, they just haven't received it yet. So a P2P enables not just you, but the supplier to also view that information. So kind of like we've explained before, CSUBUY is an interface sort of built on top of CFS. So there's constant communication between the two programs going back and forth. And part of that information that goes back and forth is the payment status of a voucher. So on the voucher itself, you're able to, it's on the first box, probably about the middle of it or so, you'll see a section called payment information. It'll give you the status, which Kathleen went over the different statuses, but this one shows paid, how it was paid with a check number, when it was paid, and how much. So, included with paid vouchers, you have all of this information that comes through. Not all of it is going to be super relevant at the point that something gets processed for payment. For example, the shipment date or the cancellation date may not be there. That those are actions that occur because of something else. Say, for example, the check never arrived. We might cancel the payment and reissue. The reconciliation date means it was cashed, and we verified that with the bank. Um, the escheatment date is usually when something is 6 months old. We escheat it because it's no longer cashable, but this way it's in our system, so a supplier can come back at a later date and say, "Hey, you never paid me," and then we can reissue from there. Voucher pay statuses, which we went over a few minutes ago, they're just a quick indicator of what the status is of a voucher. So if it's paid, that means it's all been processed, the check has been cut and likely mailed already. If it's in process, that means that it's awaiting some sort of process in the system, say, for example, receiving or approval of an invoice. And if it's payable, that means it's gone through everything in the workflow. It's just now waiting for the pay cycle to trigger. So it should be paid soon. Takeaway here, once paid, the information comes back from CFS into CSUBUY P2P on the voucher screens. Having the information on there makes it easier for you to kind of provide answers to a supplier. But like I mentioned, suppliers with the portal are able to view that information for themselves as well. And we'll show that in a bit. Uh, Search functionality, which Kathleen was going over before I jumped on the call, is very similar to the search functionality for requisitions or for POs. You're able to go in and a lot of the times you may not know the voucher number. You might know the requisition number or the purchase order, or maybe both. You're able to find vouchers related to a purchase order if you have that information because you can search for your PO, you can click it and then it'll open up. And then on the right-hand side on this summary, you're able to see the associated documents. So here, for example, we have opened the purchase order. But if I wanted to go back and look at the requisition or maybe copy the requisition to a new cart, I can click requisition, it'll open that up, and I would have the option to copy it. Or I can see any vouchers against this purchase order and then click those and view the payment status, for example. So yeah, there's various searches available in the system with different filtering options. Um, and depending on which search parameters you're using, you can always lead from one document to another, including purchase orders, requisitions, vouchers, receipts. All of that can be located if you have the requisition number or PO number or voucher number. They're all interrelated. You can save your searches and you can export them if you want to track them in some external fashion. And we'll go through the search functionality because this is basically the end of the slide deck. So, if you give me a second here, I'm going to load I'm going to load my P2P screen. Okay, you should be able to see my screen shortly here. Um, okay, so this is the landing page, this the shopping homepage, if you will. Most folks, this is your landing page unless you've selected something else. Like we were talking earlier on the side, the little bank building is your accounts payable flyout. And I'm actually going to start by showing you the substitute approver. Um, so I'm going to click here and navigate over to the approvers for the vouchers. I have some information that you're not going to see on your screen. So don't be alarmed if you're looking at my screen. But here you're able to assign for your different functions, an approver or approvers for the different roles. So I have a lot of different things. Again, you might not see all of this, but if you have multiple items on here, you can assign one person for one thing or one for another, or you can assign one person to everything. So if I click here on the assign substitute to all vouchers, or even if I did it on a single line item, you get the same sort of result. But I'm going to show you what it looks like when you assign something to everybody. And only because Kathleen is still on the call, she's going to be the person I'm going to pick. So let's say I'm going to be out March 3rd uh, through the 6th. I hit assign. Oh, she's already on it. That's why. Let me search for Joe, who's also on the AP team. I've just assigned Joe to everything. Kathleen went on these items because the ones that it was not allowing Kathleen to be attached to were the ones that she's already a part of. So it's the system is basically saying you don't need to assign Kathleen. Kathleen is already there. But I was able to assign Kathleen for those items that she didn't already have and Joe for the rest. Now, let's say, for example, um, I assigned Joe to this capital projects and I thought, Joe really shouldn't be there. I can remove Joe. Maybe I want to retain that and save it for when I come back since I won't be out for a very long period. Maybe I come back early because it's just bugging me that I might have something pending. I can hit end substitute for all vouchers and all of it goes away at once. So it's pretty quick to assign and unassign. Now, if you have a need for somebody for a substitute for a very longer period of time, say, for example, a few months, maybe reach out to us instead so that we can discuss if instead of doing a substitute, if maybe we should add a role to someone so that you don't have to try to guess at the dates and all of that good stuff. So reach out to us. So let's go in and look for some vouchers. So these are all the vouchers over the last 90 days. If I wanted to just look at vouchers from this week, I can modify my search accordingly. So now I'm looking at just items from this week. As you can see, it's giving you the status here. A lot of these are punch out suppliers. So these kind of process through or should process through a little bit easier than non-punch out. But you see this the pay status on the side. But I'm gonna look for someone that shows paid right here, Billy. So I clicked on the voucher for Billy Johnson. Um, like I said, if you're searching, you may have a number for the requisition, for example, because maybe you're a part of the requisition. And if you actually search that, it'll bring up the related document, the purchase order. But you can also do that through here. I can search or jump over to the purchase order. So now I'm on the purchase order. Or I can go to the requisition. Maybe I want to copy this cart. I'm able to do that. Copy to cart. But on the voucher side, um, if you scroll down just a little bit, so this is the top, and the payment information is right there. So it was paid via check, check number, date it was paid, and amount. You also have the matching tab, which we went over. So here it tells you this was a two-way, so this was a service, and you can see that the service was a guest lecturer. So the receiving, which Kathleen talked about earlier, is really just the approval of the invoice, not a physical act of receiving. Was approved by the department, and this had no has no match exceptions. On the comments tab here, you can see I'm showing comments for voucher, but I can switch this to all. And if I wanted to respond to someone, I can do so here. Thanks. Um, Maybe I want the department to be aware that I'm thankful. Or maybe I want to add somebody else. I can do so in here. For example, we can search. I can hit add, and now I've added another individual to show how thankful I am. If I'm ready to post, I can just hit the check mark and it'll post, or I can cancel out. You can also add a comment if you don't want to respond or feel like you're responding to comment, want to add a brand new one, you're able to do that as well. As I was mentioning earlier, on any screen, you can hit the history tab to see if something gets bounced back. You'll see it as one of the first items. It'll give you a note as to why and which relevant lines when your requisition, for example, had an issue that needs to be corrected. Usually that happens on the initial steps of a form. So when it does the automated pieces, in this case, for example, maybe the invoice validation. That's an automated process that potentially somehow could bounce back a voucher to you or a requisition to you. And if you hit the history tab, you can get a little bit more insight as to what it is that went wrong. But if it's not quite clear, because it does use some, P2P terminology, you can always reach out and we'll guide you through that. Um, Let me go back to the vouchers. So let's click a random one here. So if you see this one, matching tab is showing that this is a three-way match because you have the three arrows there. And it also tells you under the matching method. And uh, as Kathleen was showing from the presentation, right now it's showing we've ordered three and nothing's been received, but we've been invoiced for three. So this is likely something that is en route. But if something was attempted to be matched and there was an exception, like maybe you ordered something for $100 and it came in at 120, it would show you that you've exceeded the amount of the PO. POs have a built-in tolerance of 10%. So if you ordered something for 100 and they sent it to you for 105, you would still be able to make the payment. You could still approve and make it. But if you order something for 100 and it came for 115, it would hold for correction. Um, in that particular case, you would have to go to like the purchase order screens, and then there's a change request option in there, and you can request a change order to the PO. Okay, I know I've been going pretty quickly and giving a lot of information. So does anybody have any questions right now?
We do have one question in it says, what is the difference between a voucher and a requisition or a purchase order?
Oh, that's a good question. Requisition is where you start. So after you've built your cart, whether that's a punch out or a form, the cart will go into a requisition. A requisition is the actual process, the starting process of the evaluation for the purchase. The requisition gets worked, so after you submit it, it'll go to your DOA approver. After your DOA approver approves it, it'll go to the compliance workflow if there is one. Say, for example, I was going to be bringing on a guest lecturer. It would go to most likely to HR for the independent contractor review. And then from there, potentially it would go, your requisition would go to procurement for final review. Once they approve your purchase order, the vendor gets a copy of the purchase order. So basically, that's authorization to start service or to go ahead and ship an item. Um, and from there, you're kind of waiting for the service to happen or the goods to be shipped and then an invoice to be sent. So a voucher is created from the PO after the invoice is received. So a voucher is essentially capturing the data of an invoice so that from there we can enter it into the voucher workflow and you can approve the service that was rendered. So you're saying, yes, I ordered 10 hours of service and I got 10 hours of service. Um, or if it's receiving a good, it gets delivered to central receiving, so to logistics, and then they can receive it in the system, and then it'll go to payment.
No other questions in the Q&A box, but if anyone has any questions or wants to share um, one of their takeaway.
Hopefully, now that it's been a couple weeks that you've been using the system, it hasn't been too bad. Hopefully, um, we've had a few speed bumps here and there, but we've been working to correct them as much as possible. Um, but is there something somebody wants to see? Perhaps I missed something. Oh, um, so there's another question. The vendor sent some invoices, which were in turn sent over to payables. How long is the turnaround time to see those vouchers uploaded into CSUBUY? It just depends on when. So right now, because we're still phasing out from uh, the pre-P2P days of processing, it gets put into a queue, and then um, one of the fine folks here in AP will pick it up and then go into. So when you are sending right now any invoices manually to our payables inbox, if you happen to have the PO, we do recommend you put that. The suppliers are typically pretty good about putting it in their invoice, but sometimes, especially the smaller ones, may not. But that is a very helpful indicator to us to know where to look for this, particularly as we're still juggling two systems, right? So if you send an invoice and there is no PO, we might not know if to look for it on CFS or to look for it on P2P. So it'd be very helpful if you can include that information. But typically, it's pretty quick. Once it goes in there, it'll kick off the process. If on the requisition, and I'll actually open one so I can show you what I'm talking about. But if on the requisition, you put yourself as prepared for, you'll actually be notified on the voucher side. This is the person that gets notified on the voucher side um, when there's a voucher to be approved. The workflow on the voucher side is actually a lot more streamlined than it is on the requisition side, in case anybody's curious. On the requisition side, because you have the compliance checkpoints, there's like a potential, I don't know, 10 or 15 different points it could hit. On our side, on the voucher side, it's a little bit more simplified. So when the voucher comes in and it gets entered, it'll go into the workflow for the what they call the step is called verify received. But kind of like we talked about, the verify received could apply to a three-way match or a two-way match. So if it's a three-way match, you've purchased the good, shipping and receiving have that role and they're able to receive. So that's one place where it can get stuck. Um, if it's a service, then it'll go to the PO owner, and then that person can approve. From there, it depends. Generally, unless there's an exception or exceptions, it'll kind of move forward to payment. So this one, for example, is a punch out. Was it a punch out? No, this one is not a punch out. And I'm actually looking at the requisition. So let me change over to the voucher here. So this one, we created the voucher. It calculated the tax. So that's a functionality that really us on the AP side will worry about. It gets validated with CFS. It comes into the verify receive. So the department approved it. And then from there it goes okay to pay. So that's because this one hasn't been, there's nothing else triggered. If there's some exception, like say for example, it does the tax calculation and it's a little bit off, it might trigger an AP review, and so it would come to AP and then it would go to payment. Um, so generally speaking, though, it's a far more simplified workflow. And then we have another question. What if we're looking for a supplier and they are in the non-catalog supplier type? What is the difference between non-catalog and hosted catalog? That's also a really good question. So catalog means essentially that they're a punch-out supplier. So when you look at these little icons that you're seeing here on the middle there, um, it actually tells you a little bit of information regarding the supplier. So punch outs, like Amazon, for example, or Staples. Let's look for Staples. You'll see it's like um, you'll see it's like a little circle with a red line through it. Um, Typically, catalog me because when you're a punch out supplier, you have to develop a catalog for your whatever you're selling, and so the supplier maintains that. Um, so that's really like the biggest difference between catalog and non-catalog. What you're looking for on the suppliers is more or less that they're active for shopping. That's the key. If something is enabled for contracts but not for shopping, that means you couldn't send them a PO just yet. You have to actually start a contract, which is relatively new to P2P, start a contract, and then you can leverage the PO separately. But you're looking for it to say active for shopping. So if it has that little check mark, generally active for shopping.
I'm not seeing any other questions. But I did put an example of the requisition workflow image that we've shared in previous presentations. I don't know if you have one, Alberto, for like voucher and invoicing.
No, because it's really just the receiving, and then from there it's AP. That's the two steps for the most part. But I do want to, and you did include the link for it. I do want to outline something for everybody that's very helpful. On the contracts and procurement page, the CSUBUY P2P tab, not only does it have this helpful link for you to log in, um, but if you hit the supplier resource, because right now we're getting a lot of questions um, from suppliers themselves, and this actually has a wealth of resources for them. Unfortunately, there's not a way for us to view and go into their profiles and help them out with things. But we do have these resources available. So sometimes a supplier will forget how to log in. The portal is here for them to be able to reach their account. If you're inviting somebody to be a supplier and they within their own company tell somebody else to fill it out. For example, let's say you were inviting ABC company and I work there and Brenda works there. And you send me the invite, but then I tell Brenda, Brenda, you register. If Brenda comes in here to register and puts her email, it's going to say something to the effect of this company is not accepting any more suppliers, something along those lines. That's because we're inviting people. So if I'm invited, I have to do it with my email. If I want Brenda invited, I have to invite Brenda. But more importantly, um, they have not only tips for how to set themselves up, depending on their entity status and sort of their whether they're foreign or domestic, but here in the middle section under additional resources, it actually gives them a guide on how to create their own invoice. We did have a couple of suppliers reach out about this, and it tells you how to log in. Jagger is a bigger network, bigger program that has a network of customers on there. And so it's entirely possible a supplier may have the California State University system, which is the customer portal for all CSUs. It's not like there's one for Fullerton and one for Pomona. It's the California State University. So they'd have to click there, look at their sales orders with their little fancy flyout here. And then once they see their listing, they can click one and create an invoice or a credit memo. They're able to fill it out and submit. They don't have to attach an actual like PDF of their invoice, but they're more than welcome to. They can hit the add image. And then this, if they did it, would automatically trigger the workflow process in P2P. And more importantly, within here, they can see their invoice and whether it was paid. So it gives the suppliers um, quite a bit more, I guess, autonomy to find information.
Thank you. I also put the our survey link in the chat. Um, if you guys can help us and give us feedback, we really appreciate it. And then we do want to encourage office hours um, for P2P. So they're Monday through Friday, various times, and you can book one-on-one appointments with one of our buyers or support team. And anything else, Alberto, we need to add?
Um, no, just we're here. If something goes wrong, we're ready to help.